How's it going, everybody? In this video, we're going to go ahead and set up the eBGP peerings between the 9K switches and our PC that's attached to PC or PE3 and get all that squared away. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and dive into the config. So I'll be doing a little bit of whiteboarding as we get a little further along to help you guys understand the workflow and the configuration, how the configuration is affecting the design. So first thing we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to focus on 9K3 out of the gate. We're going to go ahead and get him squared away, and then we're going to set up PE1. We're going to focus on this section right here. So on 9K3, I'm going to go ahead and log in, and we're going to go to, let's do a quick show VPC to make sure the VPC is still working, which it is. I'm not sure why VPC 13 is what keeps telling me it's failed. Not sure why. Everything's looking pretty good. Anyway, go to global config, and then interface E1/9. We're going to do a show interface status, and currently E1/9 is connected. And if we show, and it's a switch port. So if we were to do show run interface E1/9, it should have the switch port command, which is the default. I'm going to go ahead and type in no switch port to convert it to a routed port. And we do a show run pipe section VRF. We're going to have VRF customer 1 and VRF customer 2. So I'm going to go ahead and type in interface E1/9 dot, and I'm going to give this guy a 101. And because we're using 101 here, well, actually no, dot 11. Because we're using the third octet, we have 11 and we have 12. So we're going to do that, and then we're going to go type in the encapsulation. It will be .1Q11, and we're going to type in the VRF member is going to be customer 1. And if we show IP interface brief, you're going to see that for VRF customer 1, the IP address here is currently, for do show interface status, you're going to see that it's disabled because E1/9 show run interface E1/9. It's currently shut down. So interface E1/9, no shut. That'll bring the interface up. Now it's there, and then we also have to do the same thing to the sub interface. Interface E1/9.11. Whoops, 1/9. No shut. And then we'll do an IP address here of 10.101.11.3/24. Show IP interface brief VRF customer 1. And there we can see that that IP address is now set up. Same thing on PE1. On PE1, we're going to go to interface gig0/1, no shut it. Here we don't have to worry about no shutting the sub interface, because as long as the main interface is online, we're good to go. Interface gig0/1.11. We're going to put in here VRF forwarding for C1, and then the encapsulation .1Q will be 11. IP address here will be 10.101.11.1/24. And do show IP interface brief. And there we go. So I'm going to go ahead and do ping VRF C1 of 10.101.11.3. See if I can ping across. Excellent. So the ping works. So first thing I'm going to do is on this guy here, I'm going to type in router BGP 65100, address family IPv4 VRF C1, and then I'm going to type in neighbor of 10.101.11.3, remote AS of 65001. And that's all I have to do. I'm going to go over here to 9K3, and I'm going to go to router BGP 65001, underneath VRF customer 1, and then underneath address family IPv4 unicast, I'm going to type in neighbor of 10.101.11.1. Remote AS is going to be 65100, and that will go ahead and activate my adjacency. or activate my peering, I should say. So PE1, and we're going to have to do a let's see, do I need to, underneath the VRF, I shouldn't need to do anything for that because it should automatically bring the data in. So let's do show run BGP. And I have a active peering to that particular connection. And if we show BGP VPNv4 unicast summary, let's do a show BGP VRF cust1, and we're looking at IPv4 unicast summary. And right now we have a we don't have a connection going to it, so we need to, not sure why we're getting the peering closed. Active reset, peer close the session. Not sure why we're getting that. Show run BGP and see what the deal is. So we have a peering set up. Let's make sure that the, oh, I bet you I know why. I know why. Show, okay, so let me scroll back up here a little bit. And the reason why, oh no, the VR, I've got IPv4 deploy enabled, but I wonder if it's because the global BGP table doesn't have IPv4. Let me go ahead and, all of a sudden 9K3 just hung up on me. Let me pause until this guy comes back. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to add, there we go. So I'm going to type in, let me exit out of here, router BGP 65001, and then address family IPv4 unicast. I'll do this, and then it shouldn't make a difference here, but PE1, well, maybe that did it. Show IP BGP, let's see here. Show BGP VRF C1 VPNv4 unicast all summary. It's actively trying to form the peering. Let me just make sure that I did the show IP interface brief VRF cust1. Okay, so I know it's working correctly. Show run BGP. Did I make a mistake somewhere? I've got the connection up and running correctly. Did I make a mistake in the config? 65001. It's actively trying to form the peering. I'm actually not sure why it's not working because I've never had this problem before. Legitimately, like, kind of surprised that it's not working. So underneath VRF cust1, and then we're going to go underneath neighbor. Oh, you know what? Neighbor. All right, so it's part of my mistake. All right, so I never set the neighbor statement underneath. I never activated the address family. So let me do this. Neighbor. I actually did this in the reverse path. So the mistake that I made was that so I tried to enable the peer as I went underneath address family IPv4 unicast into the the neighbor statement, like the neighbor, right? And that's not going to work. So I did type in neighbor of 10.101.11.1, and then underneath here remote AS of 65100, and then address family IPv4 unicast, enable it on that, and that should come online. And then if we do, there's no activate here in this particular case, so you wouldn't type in neighbor and then 10.101.11.1 and then activate. You would so this should be coming online. Which I'm actually surprised it's not. Show run BGP. The config is corrected now. So I have activated that peering, and it should be working, but for whatever reason it's not wanting to come online. Kind of surprised by that. Let me go ahead and try doing it. Let me end out of here and go back to global config, interface E1/9.12. We're going to go ahead and VRF member is going to be cust2, encapsulation .1q12, IP address here will be 10.101.12.3/24, no shut. And then on PE1, go to global config, interface gig 0/1.12, encapsulation .1q12, VRF forwarding is going to be C2, and then we're going to specify the IP address here will be 10.101.12.1/24. And do ping VRF C2 10.101.12.3. That should respond. Let's see. Did 9K3 check out on me? Show IP interface brief. VRF cust2. No, that's working. Show run interface E1/9.12. Okay, so it's good to go. PE1. Yeah, see, it's not even responding for this one. It's good. Control-Shift-6, and let's do this. Can I ping customer 1? Okay, so you know what I think would happen? I think 9K3 checked out. Oh yeah, the pure keep alive died. Show VPC. I think 9K3 just checked out. So, yep, it's pretty sure. Show VPC. Yeah, we have a problem. So I'm going to go ahead and copy, run, start, save the config, and I'm going to reload 9K3. So 9K3 literally just checked out on me. So I will reload the switch. I'm going to switch gears and I'm going to focus on 9K5. So, cool. I'm going to go ahead and reload now that the config has been squared away. Yes, I want to reboot the system. That happens every once in a while. I've noticed that no matter how stable you try to make the config, it every once in a while checks out on you and you have to reload the box. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump over here to PE2. I'm going to go ahead and go to interface gig 0/1, no shut it, and then hit the up arrow .11, encapsulation .1q11, VRF forwarding is going to be C1, IP address here will be 10.101.21.2/24. Do show IP interface brief. Awesome. And then on 9K5, go ahead and log into this guy real quick. We're going to go to global config, interface E1/7. I'm going to go ahead and say no switch port. And then we're going to type in the no shut. And then we're going to hit the up arrow a couple times and do .11. No shut here. VRF member is going to be cust1. And then we're going to specify the IP address here will be 10.101.21.5/24. And show IP interface brief VRF cust1. And no shut. So once that comes online, show run interface E1/7. Okay, so that's good to go. Show interface status. Incompatible config. Show run interface E1/7.11. Oh, encapsulation. So encapsulation .1Q11. So there we go. Go back to the show IP interface brief again. There we go. So we're going to go ahead and we get a source address, a duplicate IP. Not sure how we're getting that. So we're going to do ping VRF, or sorry, ping 10.101.21.2 VRF cust1 and hit the enter key. There it goes. I can ping it. So I'm going to go over here to router BGP 65001 underneath VRF customer 1. I'm going to type in neighbor of 10.101.21.2. Remote AS is 65100, and then address family IPv4 unicast. And we're going to go to PE2. I'm going to go to router BGP 65100, address family IPv4 unicast. I'm sorry, IPv4. It's going to be address family IPv4 VRF C1, and type in neighbor of 10.101.21.5, remote AS of 65001. And that should bring up the BGP peering. Give that a couple seconds to do its thing. There it goes, which is what should have happened in the other router. Show IP route VRF C1. And so we are getting some BGP routes coming in, which is what we want to see. And if I jump over to PE3 and do a show MPLS forwarding table, we should see we have some connections there. And then show BGP, VPN, V4, unicast all. We should see those routes coming in from router 2. Now what I'm going to go do is I am going to jump over to PE3 and get him configured to, or I'm already here. I'm on to PC1. So interface gig 0/1, no shut. Interface gig 0/1.11, encapsulation .1Q11, VRF forwarding is going to be C1. IP address here will be 10.101.31.3/24. And then we're going to do on PC1, see how we're doing in 9K3. 9K3 is coming online, which is a good thing. PC1, we're going to go to global config, host name is going to be PC1. We're going to go ahead and create the VRFs. Let me go to PE3 real quick and do show run pipe section VRF. Grab that config real quick and dump it into this guy. So we'll grab this real quick and copy and paste that into PC1. Perfect. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to interface gig 0/0, no shut, interface gig 0/0.11, encapsulation .1Q11, but VRF forwarding is going to be C1, and the IP address here will be 10.101.31.11/24. and do show IP interface brief to make sure that it's online. Do ping VRF C1 10.101.31.3, and that should respond. Perfect. So now what I'm going to do on PE3 is router BGP 65100, address family IPv4 VRF C1, neighbor of 10.101.31.11, remote AS of, I'll put in here 1 is fine. I didn't actually specify that ahead of time, but I really should move this actually isn't going to be the same same autonomous system number. So what I'll do is I will jump over to PC1, router BGP 1, no BGP default IPv4, and then I'll type in neighbor of 10.101.31.3 remote address family IPv4 VRF C1, neighbor of 10.101.31.3 remote AS of 65100. That should get my peering up, and then I'll be able to receive those routes. Give that a couple seconds. Let's see. Do show IP interface brief. PC1 should be receiving those routes. Do show IP interface brief. PE3 configured it correctly, right? 31.11. Yep. And then, yep. Do show run interface gig 0/0.11. Yep, that's all right. Do show run pipe section BGP. And I activated the peering, which is what we need to have happen. Do show BGP VRF C1 summary. BGP cannot run. Oh, okay. That's my fault. So BGP router ID would be 1.1.1.1. There it goes. Okay, so normally I have the IP addressing configured ahead of time, and it's not that big of a deal. So do show IP route VRF C1, and we can see the BGP routes coming in, right? And which is cool because now if we were to, so the problem though is if like 9K5, if we were to look at him and do a show IP route VRF cust1, we're not going to see any of those routes coming in from PC1. So what I'm going to do is on PC1, I'm going to go ahead and advertise those per VRF. So I'm on PC1, I'm going to type in address family IPv4 VRF C1, and I'm going to type in network of 10.101.31.0 mask /24. And then over here on 9K5, if we hit the up arrow, we're going to receive that route in. Now via BGP, we're going to receive that prefix in. So now we'll have reachability to that particular network. So I was to ping to 10.101.31.11 VRF customer 1, I should be able to ping it. And I can because I'm doing a ping through the MPLS VPN. Now what's cool is 9K3 is just about online. So it's actually right about that point in time. So it's taking us quite a bit of time to get this other stuff configured, but that's okay. So that's not 100% online yet, but it's close enough for PE1 should have a peering. Hopefully the config on PE or 9K3 copied and the peering should just come online. So we can actually log into 9K3, and it's going to be a little sluggish because it's still booting. But once it comes online, I really wanted to check the BGP config and do a show run BGP. As you can see, it's running really slow. And if we come underneath here, we're going to see that the peering is set up. But we're still patiently waiting for BGP, or the system isn't online yet, because we haven't gotten the system ready notification yet. It's still in the process of booting up. So as soon as it gives me a system ready, then we're going to know we're okay. But everything else we're good on. So for example, if I was to go back to PC1 and jump into here and do a show IP route VRFC1, you're going to see that we have this default route in the routing table, right? So the idea now is if I was to try to ping 101.0.0.1, I'm not going to get anywhere. So essentially why we see the default route is because 9K5 has propagated that information in order to reach ASA 11. But if we were to ping 10.1.10 or 10.1.10.1, maybe I didn't think we were going to be able to reach it. Our goal isn't to come into the Vxlan fabric and go out to the internet. That's not our goal here. So we're not trying to ping from here and get to here, because if we look at the ASA and go back to the ASA and we look at the show route, we're not going to have any route to the 10.101.31 network here. I could create one and point back to it, and I could come up here and type in, say, route inside VLAN 10, for example, and type in 10.101.31.0/24 to 10.1.10.254, right? And then now I do a show route, and now I do have a way back. So if I go back to PC1 and I hit the up arrow, that should work, hopefully. You know what? It's still not going to, because there is I'd have to set the routing up for it. And right now on here, I'm not advertising this subnet in. There's a lot of stuff that isn't set up correctly for this to work. So, but that's a whole other story all in of itself. 9K3, oh, it failed to boot. It checked out on me. Let me see where it failed. Setting request. Oh, it rebooted. Yeah, so it gave me a system ready and then it failed. So I may have to power this box off and power it back on again. So, but needless to say, we do have access into the network. Now the trick would be PC1. PC1, if we do a show IP, oh, you know why? So never mind. I know why it's not working, because I'm pinging inside the global table. So if I was to ping VRFC1, and then, sorry, never mind. I take back what I just said. Ping VRFC1, and then the destination I'm trying to reach would be 10.1.10.1. That might work. Yeah, I'm not surprised that it's not. But if I tried to ping .254, that should work. Yeah, that works. So I'm not redistributing these routes in. So there's some other things that are going on that are outside of our control. Well, we have control of them, but what I really want to do is, for example, if I wanted to ping, bring this down just a little bit, and ping 13, ping 10.1.10.13, this should work. I should be able to reach the inside. And let me just make sure that this is being propagated to, let's make sure the Nexus 9K1 admin, or let's go ahead and do a show IP route VRF cust1. And it's being brought in, which is good. I just wonder if it's not being matched. Well, it's showing up, so we should be able to reach it. PC13, if we were to ping 10.101.31.11. Oh, that's working. There we go. Perfect. So I can reach out, but PC1, for example, it sort of is working. Okay. So Now if I was to do a trace, I should be able to trace to 10.101.31.11. Can I do, yeah, let's just go ahead and do a trace. Perfect. So it is working. So it is getting there. So the PC1 should be able to do the same thing in reverse. Again, ping VRF C1 10.1.10.13. Yeah, see, it's kind of weird in how it's working. It's sort of working. It's not ideal, obviously. But the pings aren't responding, so we do have reachability. But if I was to do a trace route VRF C1 to 10.1.10.13 numerically, I am going to get there. So I end up getting there. It's just, it's not clean from the pinging perspective, but it is working. So 9K3 is, okay, so I had to reboot 9K3. I've ran into this problem a couple of times where it's giving me a hard time, and I've had to like take this box, stop it, and then start it again. And then let's open up Secure CRT again, and we close out 9K3. And open this back up, and bring 9K3 all the way back down to here. So I'm going to let that boot up. And at this point in time, we are pretty much squared away with what I wanted to test out. In between now and the next video, I will go ahead and, once 9K3 is back online, I will go ahead and set the peerings up. That's my goal anyway. If something happens, I'll let you know. But my goal is to set the peerings up between these guys so we can have the reachability where we need to. And this is just to test out to make sure that things are working from a connectivity perspective that way. So another step into this process from PC1 would be to talk to, for example, I can't get to 14, but I should be able to ping 21. So I should be able to ping 20.21. I should be able to get there, which I can. And I'm able to get to that device. As you can see, if I was to go to PC21, I should be able to ping 10.101.31.11, and I can ping him. So that's really what comes, that's really the benefit to this whole design is, and if we were to right click on the spine, go to capture E11, let's do a little bit of verification here. Did I log in that way? Let me log out. Native console, let me log in this way. Try this again. Right click on the spine, capture E11. That's better. Click on this guy, and then I'll do the same thing on spine 2. We'll go capture E11, reconnect, click OK. So I'm going to have him hanging out down here. Go ahead and move these over a little bit so it's a little easier to work with. Same thing with this guy. And let's go ahead and pull up Secure CRT again. And we're going to go on here, hit the up arrow, ping it. As you can see, the ping is going through. And if we look, it is being Vxlan encapsulated, right? Same thing here. We can see that the traffic is being Vxlan encapsulated. So we know the traffic is, if we were to do a quick whiteboard session, let me move this stuff over here to the right here in a little bit. Wish this would, I could adjust from the right and the left, not just the right. Let me go ahead and adjust this real quick. So basically the flows, the way that they're happening, let's go to green. When I go to do that ping test or that trace route test, I'm coming from this guy. He's coming in here. This is all layer 2 adjacent at this point. From here to here, it's Vxlan encapsulated. From here to here to here, everything in between, this is all layer 3 routed. And the reason why it's layer 3 routed is because we have eBGP here, we have VPN v4 here with iBGP, and we're label switching the traffic. So we are getting to where we've got to go. So, and we can tell that by looking right here, we have Vxlan Encapsulation right there, which tells us that we're working the way we're supposed to. We're Vxlan encapsulated. So we know that the design is working the way that it's expected, right? It's just that it's unfortunate that some of the devices are working the way that they are. My goal was to do some testing and make sure that PC14 and PC20 could work, and I could get to some of these other devices and have customer 2 working and then be able to have reachability to these guys from here. That was my goal, which I can still set that up. But when I do get it working, in the initial config or in the config files that'll be available, if you're a member, will be in the outputs, and you'll be able to see how all that stuff comes into play. So until next time, guys, thanks so much for stopping by and hanging out with me, and I'll catch all of you in the next video.